gentlemen, welcome to the third Belt and Road Youth English Speaking Competition and China Daily 21st Century Cup International English Speaking Competition Grand Final. I'm your host, Zhong Yutong. I graduated from Fudan University and the University of Cambridge, and it's my great honor to come back to China to host for this event.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Zhu Jiayi. I graduated from Renmin University of China and then USC. It's also my honor to be joining every one of you today.
So we know that in the history of 21st Century Cup, there are a lot of shining stars.
Exactly. There are many shining stars who have displayed great talent in public speaking yesterday afternoon already and remarkable achievements during the competition. Majority of the contestants have shown on the global stage, and always remember that confidence is half battle down. So good luck for every contestant tonight.
Indeed, we are gathered here in Chengdu, capital of the western province of Sichuan, is one of China's largest cities and is also a city of great diversity. So China Daily believes that to appreciate the beauty of all cultures and nationalities, more communication is needed between different countries. So it's actually a great place for us to host this international competition.
Since the launch of the third international competition last year, our event has attracted representatives from more than 30 countries and regions and over 200 applications to take part in this competition. These young people had a great chance to communicate with each other and better understand each other's unique cultures. Because of COVID-19, unfortunately, we can't have all our friends join us physically tonight, but in spirit and mind, we could today be all as one thanks to the modern technology. So we will have both contestants from online and offline, in total, 6 of them.
So these contestants would be, the first one, Niva from Nepal.
Second one, Zhao Qianxi from China.
And the third one would be Diana from Rwanda.
Fourth one, Yeji Kim from South Korea.
And the fifth one, Julia from Indonesia.
Last but not least, who will also be joining us online, is Miracle from Cyprus.
So a very warm welcome to all, and I hope that our contestants online can hear us as well. So in the past 2 years, as we all know, the COVID pandemic has been an unprecedented global crisis, and it is also a test demonstrating that multilateral communication and cooperation is the key to overcoming global crises and challenges. The case has once again shown the value of international cooperation, and during this competition, our passionate participants will select a theme topic related to current affairs because it requires a strenuous effort, fresh ideas, and special perspectives to help their contribution stand out. So the theme for this year's International Grand Final is cooperation always better than competition? So we look forward to the amazing speeches made by our contestants tonight, because in the earlier rounds, they have shown us great eloquence and very witty responses to the questions. So we can't wait for them to display their talents tonight again.
Exactly. But now let's first of all go over the rules for tonight's competition. The contest consists of 3 parts. First, each contestant will be given 4 minutes to present a prepared speech. Second is the impromptu speech, which every contestant will have 3 minutes to deliver their speech based on a random topic that they draw 20 minutes before the competition. And the last part is a 3-minute question and answer session. Each contestant will answer 3 questions from our question masters. 1 question will be related to their prepared speech, another one will be related to their impromptu speech, and the third one would be a spontaneous question. During speeches, a staff member will raise a board to signal when there is 15 seconds left within each time limit, and a bell will ring when the time is up. The highest possible score for each contestant is 100 points, and the 100 points are divided into 3 parts. A maximum of 30 points for the prepared speech, 40 points for the impromptu speech, and 30 points for the question and answer session. The contestants' performances will be judged based on their content, the language, and their delivery. The final score is the average, excluding the highest score, the lowest score, and the score awarded by the judge who comes from the same university as the contestant.
So, ladies and gentlemen, now I have the great honor to introduce to you our judging panel. Today's competition will be mediated by judges that have a panel of 12 members. 3 of them will be the question masters, responsible for the Q&A session, and the others will determine the scores of our contestants. So, first, let's introduce our question masters. They are Professor Ren Wen, Dean and PhD Supervisor in the Graduate School of Translation and Interpretation, Beijing Foreign Studies University. Welcome.
Professor Wang Xiaoming, Deputy Director in the Institute of West Asian and African Studies at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, Vice Dean in the China Africa Institute. Welcome.
Welcome. And also Mr. Chris Nelson, English teacher at University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Welcome.
Professor Huang Qing, former Deputy Editor-in-Chief, China Daily. Welcome.
Professor Mei Deming, Professor at Shanghai International Studies University. Welcome.
Professor Liu Dailin, Professor at Open University of China, former Director in the Advisory Committee of Foreign Languages Teaching in Vocational Education under the Ministry of Education. Welcome.
Mr. Xue Yuxue, former Country Director of the United Nations Development Program in Afghanistan and Indonesia, Head of the Expert Group of International Organization Talent Selection Department, China Scholarship Council. Welcome.
Professor Ren Xiaoping, Ambassador of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Professor at China Foreign Affairs University and University of International Business and Economics. Welcome.
And also Professor Ke Yanbing, Associate Professor at English Department in the School of Foreign Languages, Peking University, Vice Chairman of Beijing College English Research Association. Welcome.
Professor Zheng Wen, Vice Dean in the School of Journalism, Fudan University, who will be joining us online tonight.
Exactly, and together with her online would be Professor Hou Yiling, Professor in the School of English and International Studies, Beijing Foreign Studies University. So, also a warm welcome to our 2 judges online.
Last but not least, Professor Zhang Zixiu, Director of Overseas Marketing Department, China Zhongyuan Engineering Corporation. Welcome.
Welcome. All right, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know that everyone is now looking forward to our first contestant. So now, without further ado, let's welcome her onto the stage. Welcome. All right, now the stage is all yours. Good luck. Maybe you can try to use the microphone over here.
Can you?
Would you like to use this one? Okay, sure.
Is it always that cooperation is better than competition? Well, cooperation is a collective work where people unite together for mutual benefit. Cooperation is a place where people from different backgrounds comes together and they share their experience, knowledge, skills, and resource. They all work for mutual benefit. Sometimes it has a good result, but most of the time the consequences, they are harsh. For example, World War and World War II, we know they did a they played a very important role for development of science and technology, but the consequence, there was loss of millions of life of people. There was immense destruction of the properties. And we talk about emotional damage, it still exists now. Those countries, the people, there's some kind of hatred that still exists. So if cooperation is done with friendly competition, it gives the best result. If a country or a person only focus on competition and supremacy, it will never play or contribute for human development. It only thinks about itself. It is like being selfish. But if a person or a country works together, they can help each other. There will be the development of the whole world. Let's take example of China. It cooperates with other countries. It cooperates with people. So we can see it is developed in every sector. And it has a friendly competition for its development. An example of a friendly competition with cooperation is this stage. We all came for speech competition 2 days before, and now we are now like a family. We are so close with each other. We talk with each other, and we had dinner with each other. We enjoyed so much. Yes or no? Louder. Yeah, so competition does not always divide people. It can unite. Like this, we came to compete from different nations, having different cultures, but we came here and we are like united. We are like so good friends. And another example may be Olympics. They unite a lot of countries together. They not only tends to compete, but also unite. So I would say that competition, not only competition alone or cooperation alone, but healthy competition with cooperation gives the maximum result. Even the science and the studies had proved this. And when we talk about competition, it should be healthy competition. So I'd like to say that if cooperation is done with healthy competition, it is the best. Thank you.
Thank you, contestant number one. It was a really interesting concept, friendly competition. And I think it's definitely done by intended efforts. It's just not bonded naturally. So good for you guys. And now here comes your impromptu speech. You've chosen Group C for your topic. So let's take a look of all the topics included. So the first one is free will doesn't exist. And the second one is 要携手合作，不要互相指责；要持之以恒，不要朝令夕改；要重信守诺，不要言而无信。We must join hands, not point fingers at each other. We must maintain continuity, not reverse course easily. And we must honor commitments, not go back against our promises. And the third one is poverty elimination. So which one did you pick?
I took the number 3rd.
Okay, welcome. The stage is all yours. Poverty elimination.
Thank you. Poverty is the biggest problem in the world right now. There are a lot of people suffering with poverty. Isn't it so strange? Like some people, they have so much food that they got disease, and some people, they don't have food, so they die. And some people, they want branded clothes, so they don't wear that clothes. And some people, they don't have clothes. That's why they die. We all are equal. We all are human. We live in the same world. But some people, they're like, they don't have anything. And some people, they have too much and they waste it. Poverty, it's like a disease. If we do not do something, it will just keep on spreading. So poverty is the condition where a person cannot even satisfy the basic need like food, clothes, shelter. So in order to eliminate poverty, the first thing is education. Education in up to high school must be free, because if people are educated, they can have a job or they can have knowledge. they can work on their own. Because nowadays, the children of the people who are poor, they go and work in industry, which is a child labor. So poverty also gives rise to other terrors and terrorist activities. So education is one of the most important things to eliminate poverty. And another maybe foreign countries, like they should have mutual cooperation with each other. Rich country can help the poor one. The World Health Organization and international NGOs and INGOs, they can help the poor countries, and we can maybe donate or do something on small level, and the drops makes ocean. So when everyone, each of us help a little, it will create a wave, and it's gonna help the whole people. And another thing that we can do is changing the governmental policy. A lot of countries, they have the rules, or they have policies that only benefits the rich. The rich are getting richer, and poor, they're getting poorer. So the rules or the regulations, it must be made so that poor people and the rich people, both of them have equal right. And poor people, they are not always sophisticated and dominated. Thank you.
Thank you, contestant number 1. Now our question master may raise your first question.
Hi. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
In your prepared speech, you mentioned the necessity for us to have healthy competition and to avoid unhealthy competition. When we try to give this kind of value judgment, we have to first and foremost decide who decides whether a competition is healthy or unhealthy. What is the standard for this judgment?
Okay, if healthy competition, it's like it's not like dragging someone down. It's like we compete, but we don't drag anyone down. Like example, this one, like BRE stays, we compete here for a title. We are competing for a speech competition, but we are happy that somebody is doing better than us because we are learning. It's not like in World War that I compete with you and I kill you. I'm destroying your country in order that my country rises. So it's like nobody is harmed. There is development, or there is mutual cooperation. So it's healthy competition. It's not like dragging someone down or harming other, but competition where we learn, we grow, we cooperate.
So in your impromptu speech, one of the factors you mentioned was education as one of the most important ways to end poverty. So in undeveloped countries where poverty is very bad, how can the people gain access to affordable but still high-level education?
It is like everybody should help, like, because the rich countries, they can help the poor because we all are human. We have humanity. So it's not like if somebody does not have anything, somebody does not know anything, he should do on his own. We are here. We are humanity. We are here for everyone. So they can help. And those countries, from their level, they should try to cooperate and learn from others. They should have the education, and other people can help them. And when they are capable, they can grow on their own.
Hello.
Hi.
Now, please tell us your own idea about the key difference between Nepal and China from the intercultural perspective.
Well,
Thank you.
culture perspective. Well, Nepal and China, we are very good friends, but there are cultural differences. Like in Nepal, most of people, they are religious, like Hindu, Buddhist. In China, we are mostly non-religious. But about the food as well, there are different kind of food. And about the culture, there are like more than 126 types of castes in Nepal, but in China it's 56. But in spite of all those difference in culture, we both countries are very good friends, and we unite, and we share very common goals that we help each other, we grow each other. Thank you.
Thank you, contestant number 1, for your wonderful performances and responses. It's not easy to always be the first one, so thank you very much. And now let's welcome contestant number 2. The stage is all yours. Good luck.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In 21st century, it always seems politically right to choose cooperation over competition. Globalization, win-win situation, and mutual combination sound very intriguing, right? However, cooperation does have a much larger voice. However, is the larger voice always the right voice? The answer is clearly no. Here is a fixed but dangerous thinking pattern among people that we should always be generous, always be kind, and always be willing to cooperative. Everyone tries to be a good guy. But the truth is that the good guy is not always the best guy and not always the right guy. For example, in some key and crucial fields that fundamentally affect one nation's future and security, too much cooperation with other countries would bring catastrophic consequences, like nuclear weapons, satellites, artificial intelligence, and so forth. In some other cases, the good guy is even likely to be turning into a bad guy. When it comes to business, for example, too close and too much cooperation within the few head companies in one industry can lead to monopoly and manipulation. So these types of cooperation we had here are definitely not the kind of cooperation that we wanted originally. And on the other hand, competition is not always the bad guy. Competition does have some charisma sometimes. Apple, Microsoft, and Samsung and Huawei, these are the few top tech companies. Under the great pressure of their rivals, each company squeezed out 100% of their talent, inventing miraculous products for us. For example, the M1 chip of Apple, the screen of Samsung, the 5G of Huawei, and the system of Microsoft. So different companies all made remarkable achievements in different aspects in order to have an edge over their counterparts. And they're doing so to make the cake even bigger. That, I believe, is the true beauty of competition. However, competition also can be turned into involution sometimes, if not inspected properly. It is like a powerful animal which has to be closely watched. Otherwise, it would turn berserk. For example, education. Look at how the kids are kidnapped by the endless and meaningless work from school. And working places. Look at how the young graduates work overtime for pointless stuff. And business. Look at how enterprises use enormous energy and time on a tiny little project that might never make a big difference. All these abnormal competing examples mentioned above all share one thing in common. Their focus is only restricted to how to get a bigger share from very limited food here, rather than on how to create more resources. Ladies and gentlemen, is cooperation always better than competition? I've already given my answer. But is competition always better than cooperation? The answer is definitely not either. The key to tackle this issue is to figure out when it is right to choose cooperation and when it is right to choose competition, and when to compete more, when to cooperate more. The world is not perfect. There are not so many win-win situations here. So let us make our own choices more carefully, but more decisively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, contestant, for your prepared speech. Now it's time for your impromptu question. So you've chosen Group E, And now let's take a look at the 3 topics. So the first one is a statement: we should limit and publicly display all forms of fundraising and financial exchanges in political campaigns. The second is a quote: 有朋自远方来，不亦乐乎. How delighted we are with friends from afar, from the Analects. And third is a key term, that's consumerism. Which one would you like to pick?
I would like to pick number three.
So consumerism.
Yeah.
All right,
Consumerism.
good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, consumerism, one of the most controversial issues when it comes to market economy. It has always been both criticized as the devil and also been worshipped as the angel. It is a devil. Consumerism is a devil because it causes many people, many young people, to go under the debt, to go bear a burden of the debt at an age in which they shouldn't have been to. And it also causes some people to buy something that wouldn't want it before. For example, here's a girl. If I'm a girl, here's a classmate of mine. I see him wear a bag of Hermès, use the perfume of Chanel, and also carry him with a belt of Dior. I would think about, she was my classmate before. Why shouldn't I also wear something like this? Why should I deserve something similar. I deserve that luxurious thing. So that is because of the vanity inside our heart. So that girl might be doing something similar. She might also to borrow some money which she couldn't afford, to buy something that she couldn't afford. Then she will go on into debt. There will be some bad consequences for her. And we were talking about in this individual dimension. If we upload this into the countryside dimension, too much debt among people in a country for its citizens would cause catastrophic consequences for one country. But on the other hand, consumerism is also an angel. Why is it an angel? There is an old saying in the economics: only the circulated currency is the alive money. So consumerism does help one country to revive its economy. Here are some examples. In some countries whose infrastructure, whose manufacturing industry is not very strong, so it will depend on the number of tourists here. So if it has more tourists here, it will be a boost of the economy. And for the plants, if there are some consumers willing to buy their products, there will be hundreds and thousands of places, working places for workers. And for a brand, for a company, if there were hundreds of thousands of consumers willing to buy their product, it will be good for them. But for us individually, we must decide whether it is an unreasoning cause or just something we need. We should choose rationally. Thank you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
In your prepared speech, you talked about the fierce competition among or between the business tycoons or the mega companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, or Huawei. The question is, how different do you think is the competition in the business sector from the competitions between countries? Or how similar are these competitions?
Thank you very much for your question. I think the competition in one sector will be more focused one. Every company will be driven to do something that is focused on in that industry. So if you are in the electronic devices industry, you will be concentrating all of the energy in this industry. But when it comes to the competition between the countries, it might be much more comprehensive. It might be in a much more complicated way. We're not only talking about electronic devices here. We're not even at least talking about politics here or economy here. Well, actually, we might be also talking about some soft power. And apart from the stiff power, we're talking about everything between countries. Thank you.
Good evening. So on your impromptu section, you spoke about consumerism. You focused mainly on the economic aspect or debt. But can you give an example of one way that consumerism can have a negative impact on China's culture or society?
Well, thank you very much for your question. I think it definitely has negative effect on the culture because everyone just wants to spend money. From what I see from my own experiences, this kind of culture is just you because so many people just want to spend money, but there are less and less people who have the drive to gain money, to make some business of their own. So due to this desire, this vanity, and this is something that is very empty and vague, I think it is not good for the whole society to drive on with a very positive attitude because everyone is all we think about is about fulfilling our own desire but not creating anything. Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. What do you think you can dedicate to tell the true China to the world as a Chinese young people?
Could you repeat your question?
What do you think you can do to tell the true China to the world as a Chinese young people, as a Chinese youth?
Thank you very much. That's a very big question. I will just answer your question with what we have said today, what we've discussed about today. Chinese people, especially Chinese young people, our concentration should be on how to make contributions to this society. I would like to quote a line from JFK several years ago. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I think that is the most urgent thing to remind our young generations of this country or even the whole world. Because, you know, the development of the society and the economy has been very fulfilled.
Sorry to interrupt you. My question is, what you can do to tell the true China to the world? As in the friends from other country, you are together for several days. What did you do to tell the China to them? It's not what you can do to China. What you can do to tell the true China to the world, to other people.
Telling the China's true story.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
What can you do?
Okay, I will re-answer it. I think I'm on the stage right now doing this stuff. I would tell the world, not only China has already become one of the most powerfully economically country in the world, but it is also taking his responsibility. When it comes to responsibility, we are not only talking about economic problems, we're also talking about taking more burdens, such as the Belt and Road Initiative. That is exactly what we are doing right now. But my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, contestant, for your performance. Thank you very much. I was amazed by how many luxurious brands' names you can memorize. And to tell the true stories about China tomorrow, there's a little head-up, a little preview of our event. One of the most famous journalists and also a former contestant of 21st Century Cup, Mr. Wang Guan, will have an event tomorrow evening. So to understand more about how to tell the true China, you're more than welcome tomorrow evening to join us. All right, so now let's give it up for our third contestant today. Let's welcome contestant number 3. All right, the floor is all yours. Wish you the best of luck.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever observed how ants work together to build the most mind-blowing sun towers? or how an eagle flies freely high in the sky? Well, I believe that nature vividly illustrates for us how competition and cooperation are important. I come from a country in Africa called Rwanda, where there is the largest number of mountain gorillas. Well, when you get to visit these mountain gorillas, you observe a clear balance between competition and cooperation. These animals stay together in small groups of families, and each family is led by a male silverback gorilla. Very often, another male gorilla tries to invade the territory of the family. And what the head of the family does is, he tries his best to defend his family by competing. Actually, by fighting the invader so as to chase him off his territory. But what is more interesting is what the rest of the family does. What the rest of the family does is they come together and collaborate to cheer and motivate their leader to victory. So, what can we learn from this? Ladies and gentlemen, cooperation brings out the best in us, while competition brings out the beast in us. Cooperation is a root of peace and abundance. When solving a problem, or when trying to improve, it is cooperation that makes more sense than competition. But we should also remember that all that glitters is not gold. Cooperation also has its downsides, such as blaming in case of a group failure, or unhealthy agreements so as to avoid conflicts, and much more, lack of creativity. Allow me to also talk about competition. Competition is a word that is often demonized. But is competition really evil, as many people like to say? I believe that unhealthy competition leads to a virus and a disease world. Well, I also strongly believe that healthy competition helps us to strive to excel. Look at it this way. If I'm looking for a job or if I'm playing for a football team, competition helps me to strive to excel so as to get the job or to win. Ladies and gentlemen, cooperation and competition can be considered as yin-yang. They're complementary to each other. One cannot exist without the other. Cooperation leads us to perform better, while competition helps us to birth creativity. Imagine a world in which we all come together and ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share an experience back in my country. Well, I come from a country in Africa where there is a big gap between the rich and the poor. Very often, you observe this when you go to public places, such as hospitals, banks, and many other public places. Well, when you go to a hospital, you can observe a clear difference between the poor and the rich, or the most powerful and the least powerful. There is always a long queue at the hospital. People who have traveled from villages and people that have traveled from the city to come seek for help. What is more interesting is that you wake up early in the morning and rush to the hospital. When you reach there, you wait for hours for the queue. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you wait for more than 5 hours to 8 hours, and at the end of the day, you do not get any help. What causes this? We are talking about queue jumping today. When you are in the line on a hospital, you observe the rich marching vividly beside you as they walk to the front of the line while you are at the back. Ladies and gentlemen, queues are definitely designed to create efficiency in work as well as create equality. But it is sad that most of the times we ignore the equality and the efficiency queues are meant to create. Well, what are some of the disadvantages of queue jumping? Well, I already stated number one, inequality. Inequality between the rich and the poor in my country. Inequality between the powerful and the least powerful in my country. Well, it is not just in my country, it's around the world. So what is the advantage of queues? Queues are meant to create equality, as I already said. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to urge you, as I urge myself, to start today to create equality by preventing queue jumping and respecting the equality and the efficiency that queues are meant to create. Well, I do not want to ignore the examples like emergency, that people are needing help more than the others. If you have an emergency, it is important to jump the queue. But if you know that you can wait just like everybody else, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin doing just that. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You compared the relationship between cooperation and competition to that of yin and yang, which is a very interesting analogy. Then which is yin and which is yang?
Well,
between competition and cooperation, and why? I mean, which one is yin and which one is yang, and why?
Thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to consider yin and yang as white and black, for those that have never seen the symbol of yin and yang. Well, I believe that competition brings birth to creativity, and then cooperation helps to nurture the creativity. I believe that competition is yin on this side, and I believe that cooperation is yang, where competition is a product that leads to cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
So I thought you had an interesting point on your impromptu speech, but maybe this has led me to pose a little bit of a difficult question. So queue jumping is a form of cultural etiquette, and the rules for queue jumping are very different in different countries. Like I'm from America, it's very strict. Other countries, it's very relaxed. Do you think that rules involving cultural etiquette reflect something about inequality that exists in those cultures or in those societies?
Well, yes, I do believe so. Thank you so much for stating that you are from America, where queue jumping is strictly prohibited. Well, I come from a country in Africa which vividly shows the clear difference between USA and my country. So therefore, I believe that there is a clear and vivid way that queue jumping or difference of cultures shows the clear differences and the problems that we encounter in different countries. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Please share a story you participate to enhance the China-Africa cooperation or civilization or relation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here in China because of a collaboration between my country and China. I come from Rwanda, as I said. Well, you told me that I should explain a clear way in which, could you please repeat the question a little bit? Thank you.
I'd like you to share a story you take part in or you participate in enhancing the China-African relations.
Thank you so much. Well, I would like to continue with my story. Today I'm here in China because of a collaboration between my country, Rwanda, and Africa. And today I am an ambassador of my country in China. Well, I do not dwell in an embassy, but I represent my country here in China. As well as when I go back home, I represent myself as a student who gained education from China. So this is one way for me to create the cooperation between my country and China. And today I'm here participating in a competition because I would like to enhance that collaboration and that way of opening up China to my country as well as my country to China. Thank you.
Thank you so much, contestant number 3. And now let's welcome contestant number 4. Now the stage is all yours and good luck.
I will not send you to China if you are my daughter. Those were the words from my high school English teacher, Mrs. Yu. It was during a college counseling session, and she had told me that I'm the first student in 10 years to have wishes to go to China, but not US, not UK. It was somewhat a conventional wisdom that if you want to pursue further studies, then you must go to the US, because that is the place of academia. However, I wanted to go to China. And I wanted to go to China because I was curious. And I was curious because I had heard a single story over and over again. From news media and daily communications, I had heard that the difference between modern South Korea and China is so enormous that it's impossible for us to build a genuine cooperation. This simplicity left me unsatisfied. So I decided to study in China and to explore different stories myself. I wanted to understand how Chinese people see success and happiness. How do they locate themselves in larger communities and society? After 3 years, have I got all my answers? No, I'm afraid not. But I was right about one thing, that China did have more than a single story. And the more I realized the complexity and multi-layered stories of Chinese society, the more I realized that we share common values. That we both care about the quality of air we breathe in, safety of food, education, healthcare that we share with our community. That we both want a more equal, responsive, and inclusive social system. From this realization, I came to believe that not only trade and economic cooperation is possible, but also cultural and human-to-human cooperation is truly possible between us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living a time when a single story can separate us and create so much blind hatred towards each other. But we are also living a time when cooperation and united action is needed more than ever to tackle coronavirus pandemic, climate change, global hunger, and poverty. In 2020, 2 sister cities, Daegu in South Korea and Wuhan in China, supported each other in their hardest time in pandemic control by sharing masks with each other. This genuine care and support in human level facilitated governmental cooperation in controlling the pandemic in the following months. So, cooperation is powerful. A real cooperation is more powerful than competition because it enables us we may be able to gain a little bit of paradise.
Thank you very much for the beautiful speech. All right, now let's take a look at your impromptu questions. You've chosen Group G, right? Yes. Okay, so the first one is, to avoid unnecessary competition, college admission should have a short list of all qualified candidates, then draw lots to determine the students it admits. And the second one is faster, higher, stronger, together, which is the new motto adopted by the International Olympic Committee this year. And the third one is nuclear disarmament. Which one would you like to choose?
I choose the second one.
So the motto that's adopted newly this year. All right, go ahead.
To me, the greatest wonder of China is not just the Great Wall in Beijing, but also the delivery system. It's fast, it's cheap, it's efficient. So one day, I ordered dinner for my friends and I, so it was a lot of food. And just before I go take the food, some vicious, hungry student took it. So when I saw the delivery man, I told him I did not receive the food. And something happened. He sat down and started to cry. He told me that he did not have enough money to pay it back. So I told him that he can go, I'll now report it to the system. And he hopped back to the motorbike, setting off a journey to deliver another 10 dinners. This experience led me to question the whole system around me. Yes, it is cheap, it is fast, but it is only possible because the drivers drive day and night, getting penalties for late delivery, and most of the time, severely underpaid. I was so immersed with being a consumer and enjoying this fast service that I did not realize that he had to drive faster and faster alone. One of the greatest advantages of the market system is that in order to hire the profit, that they often create the most efficient system. But efficiency does not mean that they care about the workers. They care about their safety, welfare, nor the opportunity to grow. That is why it is often the case like giant corporates like Samsung and Apple turn a blind eye to a child labor who have to assemble a particle 12 hours a day to make a cell phone, who have to carry a sickle larger than their body to dig out a metal to make a semiconductor. Market doesn't care, as long as the corporate can hire their profit. Consumers do not have incentive to care, as long as their new cell phone is sexy and affordable. One of the greatest critics of market system was Karl Marx, who lamented that as the profit goes higher, that it robs humans of their dignity. So the profit goes high, but our dignity goes low. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time that we go faster, higher together in order to make a stronger society. It is time that we end our obsession with efficiency and start caring about the worker together. So I raise a formal challenge to you that starting from your next delivery, next cell phone purchases, that you don't not only care about your happiness, but also care about the workers too. Because if we want to go faster, we go alone. But if we want to go farther, we go together. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
In your prepared speech, you said that you discovered through your own personal experience that China has more than one story. It has multiple stories. Suppose when you go back to South Korea and would like to share your China story with your English teachers. So who will be the
population is living in Shanghai. We have more than you can imagine. And these, my friends, even though they have great knowledges in many things, they simply do not try to understand their neighboring country because they're so blinded by their stereotypes. And now I understand that South Korea and China is having a little bit of tension in terms of cultural issues. And it's really painful as an international student to witness this because I see that media is often cherry picking of the most radical and most unrepresentative ideas and spreading it through media. So as a Korean student studying in China, I see how South Korean public opinion is distorted. And when I go back to South Korea, it is often the case that I see distorted Chinese public view, which is not the case. So if I can go back and tell my English teacher, I want to tell her that it's time that she reads news differently and start seeking out more stories herself. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
So in your impromptu speech, you gave the comparison of this delivery driver. So the slogan is faster, higher, stronger together. This is the Olympic motto, supposed to kind of show us the Olympic spirit, right?
Yes.
So can you kind of make this analogy stronger between this delivery driver and how he maybe embodies the Olympic spirit like an athlete from the Olympics?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you. I see that Olympic was created to enhance cooperation between countries. And therefore, their main spirit is often reaching out for better society together. And that's why I see even Olympics is purely a sports issue. Many people are interested, even though they're not a professional athlete, because they see their countries in those races. However, it is also often the case that we are so blinded by efficiency. In order to reach the maximum goal, we often do not pay as much attention to the process. So I think the sports and society actually go together because it is often the case highly developed countries have the best performances in the Olympics, whereas the developing countries are still struggling to find what they're good at. So this is also a reflection of our development level, but also how members of a society communicate with each other. So I think my analogy still stands. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Just now from your impromptu speech, you used a proverb. As the proverb goes, if you want to go faster, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I'd like you to explain this proverb by connecting the Belt and Road Initiative. Am I clear?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm
Thank
thinking.
you.
I think when it comes to global cooperation, it is often the case that you really want to get the contract signed so that you don't necessarily make it mutually beneficial because you want to increase the number of the countries participating. And I am a little bit conflicted, but South Korea is not part of Belt and Road because it decided to be part, but then because of some political issues, it decided to withdraw. However, I think we need more time in negotiation. It's not a definite no. If we were to move it fast, we would give up now. However, if we want to move our cooperation in the long term, I think both sides should wait and see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, contestant. Thank you for your performance.